Something doesn't seem right in Indiana, and Fever fans are starting to notice. It isn't just one play or one bad possession. It's a pattern that's getting harder to ignore. Picture this. Caitlin Clark races down the court on a fast break, completely uncovered with both hands ready for the pass. It's the kind of play that usually ends with an easy three-pointer. But the pass never comes. Instead, Kelsey Mitchell keeps the ball and takes the shot herself. A few possessions later, the exact same thing happens. Then it happens again in the second half. By the fourth quarter, fans inside the arena are looking at each other in confusion. The broadcasters begin questioning what they're seeing, and social media explodes with clips before the game is even over. When the final buzzer sounds, both Caitlin Clark and Kelsey Mitchell are trending online. But this time, it isn't because of a big win. Fans are asking one question. Is Mitchell intentionally overlooking Clark, or is everyone reading too much into a few possessions? The debate became even more confusing because only weeks earlier, Mitchell publicly praised Clark, calling her one of the best teammates and people she had ever been around. So why does it suddenly look like they're on different pages during games? Is this simply the way Indiana's offense is designed? Or has the growing spotlight around Clark changed the chemistry inside the team? Could this be about shot opportunities, all-star recognition, or the massive attention Clark continues to receive? Or is Coach Stephanie White asking Mitchell to attack first while fans mistake the strategy for personal tension? If this keeps happening throughout the season, it raises an even bigger concern. Can the Fever realistically build a championship team around two star guards if these questions continue following them every game? In today's video, we're slowing everything down and examining the film possession by possession. We'll look at the plays everyone eye.
I'm sick of this Kelsey Mitchell shit. I'm gonna be honest with you, bro. I'm sick of it. The girl didn't score a single point in the second half, and all she do is jack up shots. I've seen more than enough. Passing the ball to Caitlin Clark, not passing the ball to no damn body. She wouldn't even throw the ball to her own shadow because she's so scared of it leaving her hands. She thinks she's going to go into cardiac arrest if the ball leaves.
The reaction you just heard comes from genuine frustration. And to be fair, not every concern should be ignored. One fact is easy to verify. Mitchell failed to score in the second half while continuing to take several difficult shots. That's a real statistic, and it naturally raises questions. But this is where the conversation begins to split. There's a huge difference between saying a player forced too many shots during one game and claiming that player refuses to involve her teammates altogether. Those are two completely different arguments. Calling for Mitchell to be traded, or suggesting Coach Stephanie White should be removed because of one difficult stretch, is an emotional response rather than a basketball analysis. Every great scorer goes through cold nights. It happens throughout every season, even to the league's biggest stars. The more important question is whether this was simply one rough performance or part of a larger pattern that's showing up game after game. That's what deserves a closer look. Was Mitchell taking difficult shots because nothing else was working offensively? Or was she passing up better opportunities by choosing to attack on her own? Was this a matter of poor decision-making under pressure, or was Indiana's offensive system putting her in situations where she felt she had no better option? And underneath all of that is the question Fever fans keep asking. Who should control the ball when the game is on the line? If these same situations continue happening week after week, does it point to growing chemistry issues between Mitchell and Clark? Or does it reveal something even bigger? A flaw in the way Indiana's offense is currently.
Caitlin Clark gotta go. We gotta get into it, man. This is the film proof. Kelsey Mitchell is back the same way she was versus the New York Liberty, not passing the ball to no goddamn body. We gotta get into the footage. Welcome to Keep the Vision.
So what's the truth? At this point, there simply isn't enough evidence to say Kelsey Mitchell is deliberately refusing to pass Caitlin Clark the ball. One scoreless half, or even one frustrating game, doesn't prove that kind of claim. Basketball is rarely that simple. Every possession is shaped by different factors: defensive pressure, the shot clock, coaching instructions, and whether teammates are actually in position to receive the ball. Ignoring all of that creates a story that may sound convincing but doesn't always match reality. What this situation does reveal is something else entirely. The patience of Fever fans is beginning to wear thin. Every missed shot, every isolation play, and every possession where Clark doesn't touch the ball is now being viewed with far more suspicion than it was earlier in the season. Instead of asking what happened during the play, many fans are already deciding why it happened. And once that starts happening, the conversation shifts away from basketball and moves toward speculation. That's where things become dangerous. Because once a narrative takes hold, every future possession gets judged through that same lens, whether it deserves to be or not. The real test isn't what happened in one game. The real test is whether the same pattern continues when we examine more footage. And that's exactly where the next clip takes us.
Disgusted with what I'm seeing from Kelsey Mitchell again. She's turning this into the Kelsey Mitchell circus all over again, not passing the ball, dribbling. Dun, 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 dun. It's a circus when this girl plays. I am sick of it. Caitlin Clark needs to get far, far away from Kelsey.
Now the conversation takes a different turn. Until now, most of the debate has been driven by opinions, statistics, and social media clips. But this time, we're looking directly at the game film. And what the footage shows is hard to ignore. Possession after possession, Kelsey Mitchell isolates against her defender. She dribbles, creates space, rises for a contested jumper, misses, and then the offense quickly returns to her again. Meanwhile, Caitlin Clark spends several of those possessions waiting on the perimeter without ever touching the basketball. That's a fair observation. When an offense repeatedly falls into the same isolation action while one of its biggest playmakers is left watching, it's reasonable for fans to ask whether something needs to change. But asking questions is very different from jumping to conclusions. Some people immediately claim these possessions prove Mitchell and Clark can't play together. The film simply doesn't support that conclusion. What it does suggest is that Indiana may be relying too heavily on isolation basketball during key stretches of the game. That points more toward offensive structure than personal conflict. Still, the footage leaves us with several important questions. Was this exactly how Coach Stephanie White wanted the possession to unfold? Did the original play break down, forcing Mitchell to create on her own? Was the shot clock running low, leaving few options? Or did Mitchell decide to ignore other opportunities and attack anyway? Without knowing the play call, it's impossible to answer those questions with certainty. One possession doesn't define an entire season. Even several similar possessions don't automatically prove selfishness or locker room tension. What they do reveal is that Indiana is still searching for the best way to maximize two elite guards who both perform best with the ball in their hands. Until that balance is found, every isolation play will continue fueling debate among.
All right. We're going from the beginning. Caitlin Clark's going to get a ball to Kelsey Mitchell. Watch this. One-on-one. Okay, you get a nice midi pull up, missed it. Okay, cool. Next time. All right, let's get it to Kelsey. All right, see, I don't know. Why are you doing that? Stop doing that. That through your legs thing, don't do that. Every time you do that, this is not the And One mixtape tour.
This time, the discussion becomes much more interesting. We're no longer looking at statistics or reading social media reactions. Now we're watching the actual game film. The footage shows Mitchell repeatedly attacking one-on-one, dribbling into isolation, taking difficult pull-up jumpers, missing, and then receiving another opportunity almost immediately. Unlike the earlier clips, this isn't based on opinions. It's something you can clearly see for yourself. That makes the criticism much stronger. If Indiana's offense repeatedly falls back into isolation sets while Caitlin Clark spends long stretches watching from the perimeter, that's a basketball issue worth discussing. It's no longer just frustration from disappointed fans. But there's another side to this conversation. Some viewers immediately jump to the conclusion that Clark needs to be separated from Mitchell altogether. That's where the argument starts losing credibility. A few isolation possessions don't automatically prove two star players can't succeed together. More often, they suggest an offense that may be relying too heavily on one option during critical moments. That's a coaching concern, not necessarily a personal conflict. Still, the film raises important questions. Was this exactly how Stephanie White designed the play? Did she want Mitchell creating off the dribble while Clark spaced the floor? Or was Mitchell simply improvising after the original play broke down? Was the heavy dribbling caused by a nearly expired shot clock? Fatigue? Defensive pressure? Or did Mitchell simply choose to attack instead of moving the ball? One sequence alone can't answer those questions. And one carefully selected clip certainly doesn't prove a season-long pattern. But it does highlight something Indiana still hasn't fully solved. How do you maximize two elite guards who both thrive with the basketball in their hands? Until that question has a clear answer, every difficult possession will.
Here comes Kelsey Mitchell. I'm just going to run in there in front of two bigs and I'm just going to throw it up. I'm just going to run in there in front of two people that are 6'4", whatever. I'm just going to throw it up. Just run in there and throw it up. All right, hot sauce.
This is where the discussion becomes much more serious. Unlike the earlier clips, this play highlights a basketball decision that's much easier to evaluate. Mitchell attacks the basket aggressively, driving straight into two defenders waiting in the paint. She doesn't hesitate. She doesn't look for an open teammate. She doesn't use a pump fake to create space. Instead, she forces a difficult shot against bigger defenders. That's no longer just a matter of style or personal preference. It's a legitimate question about decision-making under defensive pressure. At every level of basketball, from youth leagues to the WNBA finals, coaches teach players to recognize help defenders and make the extra pass when the lane closes. That's why this possession deserves honest criticism. But once again, the conversation becomes less productive when the basketball analysis is mixed with personal insults and mocking comments. Those jokes may grab attention, but they distract from the real issue. Because the real issue is worth discussing. Was there actually an open passing lane that the television angle failed to show? Did the shot clock force Mitchell into making a quick decision? Or is this something we've seen enough times to call it a recurring habit? If similar drives continue showing up throughout the season, then the questions become much harder to ignore. Is Mitchell making poor decisions under pressure? Or is Indiana's offensive spacing leaving her with very few realistic passing options? And perhaps the biggest concern of all, if playoff defenses become even more physical and disciplined, can this offense continue succeeding if these same situations keep repeating?
Here we go, Kelsey Mitchell. Not gonna pass that. Here I go. Just running in, throwing this shit. I mean, just goddamn, Kelsey, pass the ball. You are not going to go into cardiac arrest if you pass the ball.
After reviewing every possession, here's the biggest takeaway. Driving into multiple defenders without a clear passing option is a fair basketball criticism. This clip supports that argument far more convincingly than many of the earlier examples. But one important distinction still needs to be made. Questionable shot selection is not the same thing as refusing to pass the basketball. Those are two very different conversations. Many difficult possessions happen because spacing breaks down, passing lanes disappear, or defenses force the ball handler into uncomfortable decisions. That doesn't automatically reveal selfishness. It often reveals an offense that's still searching for the right balance. The repeated jokes and criticism aimed at Mitchell may attract attention online, but they don't change what the film actually shows. What truly matters is whether these same patterns continue against different opponents, different defensive schemes, and different lineups. That's where the real answers will come from. When you step back and watch the entire picture unfold, the story looks very different from the one many people are telling. This isn't clear evidence of sabotage. It isn't proof that two teammates can't coexist. Instead, it looks like two elite scorers, a coaching staff, and an evolving offense still trying to discover the most effective way to play together. Some of the criticism is completely justified. Some of it goes far beyond what the evidence actually supports. And that's the difference between analyzing basketball and chasing a headline. In many ways, Indiana's biggest challenge is also its greatest advantage. Most teams would love to have two guards capable of taking over a game. The real challenge isn't deciding who should have the ball. It's building an offensive system that allows both stars to thrive without creating this debate every single night. If you enjoyed this breakdown and want more detailed film analysis before the